Crimes Regional Representative for Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Jeremy, good to talk to you. Thank you very much. How much has the production of ice grown within the region?
The production of ice at the moment is probably at its highest levels in recent history, or at least historic levels. And so safe to say that the levels are extremely high. It's being produced in the majority of countries in the region in high purity forms, and use levels are rising across the region as well.
So let's talk about use levels, because we are seeing it very high in Australia. Is it growing too across the region?
Well, we see in Thailand high levels of use of meth for many, many years, but we're seeing growing levels of virtually all the countries of the region are reporting to us growing levels of use at the moment.
Why is Australia seen as such a target for importation?
Well, actually, Australia has the couple of unique features. You have the high level of use, which your Victorian Commissioner has pointed out, couple 100,000 users. You also have probably what is the highest price per kilo in the world for methamphetamine. So big incentive for traffickers in Southeast Asia that are producing this crystal meth to get it to the Australian market where they can make big profits.
Which is interesting because it's considered a cheaper drug by comparison to, say, heroin or cocaine in Australia.
Well, actually, it is higher price per kilo than heroin. While maybe people have that perception that it's cheaper or a cheaper drug, it is in fact a more expensive drug. Maybe less than cocaine, but it's still an extremely expensive drug in the Australian market.
Now, of course, you talk about Australia being seen as a great destination because people are prepared to pay higher prices. But I guess the issue with supply is that it can be manufactured anywhere. True.
That's, as I said, it's being manufactured in most countries of the region, in some cases at industrial scale, which means that you've got factories pumping it out by 100-kilo batches at a time, tons basically in storage to be shipped to different markets. And it can be made in your residential neighborhood, in industrial areas, in rural areas. So it's able to be positioned relative to certain places where it's easy to make, than to ship out to markets like Australia.
And of course, we've seen a lot of drug busts of it coming in, but then of course it could be made here as well.
Yeah, true. If the precursor chemicals, these are the chemicals necessary to make the drugs, are available, and they are in this region, then they could be shipped into Australia. But what we are seeing, or what data that we see from the Crime Commission are telling us, is that importations of finished product at the Australian border are on the rise.
What should this task force consider, in your opinion? Because, as Ken Lay mentioned, it is very difficult to police. It is very difficult to cut off the source and the supply.
Sure. Well, I mean, when your task force is looking at this, they're obviously going to be looking at the local market, looking at how they should be dealing with the harm, how they should be dealing with demand, how they should be dealing with supply. Supply is going to require an effort on the domestic front by the AFP and by state law enforcement, of course. But overseas, you have the AFP positioned to work with governments, and which is great, and they have a good working relationship. But it is going to require engagement on broad terms with the governments, basically beyond simply the case level, but on programmatic level, to look at the supply of the chemicals to make the drugs, to look at the production of the drugs, and to look at how you can bind together a regional solution to the production level.
Yeah, and Jeremy, it would seem that this is such a tempting drug. You know, everyone says it's sort of 1,000 times the high of anything else. So surely an education campaign around the dangers of it must be a priority as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think whatever decisions are taken by the task force, they're going to have to look at a balanced approach is what we would advocate for, which means, as I said, harm and demand. And prevention is going to be key as well. So you look at that element of it, and you look at the supply element of it. So you can deal with the supply domestically, overseas, locally. The market hopefully can come down a little bit, therefore less tempting to traffic it into Australia.
Jeremy Douglas, great to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.